Welcome to the Odyssey, read by Devin Young, Chapter 5. Book 5. Hermes, bidden by Zeus, flies to Calypso's isle to charge her to let Odysseus go. Obeying the god, Calypso helps her captive to build a raft and set sail, but after 17 days of smooth sailing, the raft is wrecked in a storm summoned by Poseidon. Odysseus battles the waves bravely, and at length reaches the shore of the land of the Phaeacians. Exhausted and naked, he finds shelter in the woods and sleeps. And now as dawn rose from her couch beside Tithonus, harbinger of light alike to mortals and immortals. I think it's Tithonus, actually. Tithonus, harbinger of light alike to mortals and immortals. The gods met in their council, and with them Zeus, the lord of thunder, who is their king. Thereon Athena began to tell them of the many sufferings of Odysseus, for she pitied him away there in the house of the nymph Calypso. "Father Zeus," said she, "all you other gods that live in everlasting bliss," sounds real nice, "I hope there may never be such a thing as a kind and well-disposed ruler anymore, nor anyone who will govern equitably. I hope they will all be henceforth cruel and unjust, for there is not one of his subjects but has forgotten Odysseus, who ruled them as though he were their father. There he is, lying in great pain in an island where dwells the nymph Calypso, who will not let him go, and he cannot get back to his own country, for he can find neither ships nor sailors to take him over the sea. Furthermore, wicked people are now trying to murder his only son Telemachus, who is coming home from Pylos in Sparta, where he has been to see if he can get news of his father." "What, my dear, are you talking about?" replied her father. "Did you not send him there yourself because you thought it would help Odysseus to get home and punish the suitors? Besides," he's talking about Telemachus, "besides, you are perfectly able to protect Telemachus and see him safely home again, while the suitors have come scurrying back without having killed him." When he had spoken, he said to his son Hermes, "Hermes, you are our messenger. Go therefore and tell Calypso we have decreed that poor Odysseus is to return home. He is to be conveyed neither by gods nor men, but after a perilous voyage of 20 days upon a raft, he is to reach fertile Scheria, land of the Phaeacians, who are the near kin to the gods, and will honor him as though he were one of ourselves. They will send him in a ship to his own country, and will give him more gold, bronze, and raiment than he would have brought home from Troy, if he had all his prize money and gotten home without disaster. This is how we have settled that he shall return to his country and friends." Thus he spoke. Hermes, guide and guardian, slayer of Argus, did as he was told. Forthwith he bound on his glittering golden sandals, with which he could fly like the wind over land and sea. He took the wand with which he seals men's eyes in sleep, or wakes them just as he pleases, and flew holding it in his hand over Pieria. Then he swooped down through the firmament till he reached the level of the sea, whose waves he skimmed like a cormorant that flies fishing every hole in every corner of the ocean, drenching its thick plumage in the spray. He flew and flew over many a weary wave, but when at last he got to the island, which was his journey's end, he left the sea and went on by land till he came to the cave where the nymph Calypso lived. He found her at home. There was a large fire burning on the hearth, and one could smell from far the fragrant reek of burning cedar and sandalwood. As for herself, she was busy at her loom, shooting her golden shuttle through the warp and singing beautifully. Round her cave there was a thick wood of alder, poplar, and sweet-smelling cypress trees, wherein all kinds of great birds had built their nests, owls, hawks, and chattering sea crows that occupy their business in the waters. A vine loaded with grapes was trained and grew luxuriantly in the mouth of the cave. There were also 4 running rills of water in channels cut pretty close together, and turned hither and thither so as to irrigate the beds of violets and luscious herbage over which they flowed. Even a god could not help being charmed with such a lovely spot, so Hermes stood still and looked at it. But when he admired it sufficiently, he went inside the cave. Calypso knew him at once, for gods all know each other, no matter how far they live from one another. But Odysseus was not within. He was on the seashore as usual, looking out upon the barren ocean with tears in his eyes, groaning and breaking his heart for sorrow. Wow, that is depressing. He's done that for years. Calypso gave Hermes a seat and said, "Why have you come to see me, Hermes, honored and ever welcome? For you do not come to visit me often. Say what you want. I will do it for you at once if I can, and if it can be done at all. But come inside and let me set refreshment before you." As she spoke, she drew a table loaded with ambrosia beside him and mixed some red nectar. So Hermes ate and drank till he had enough, and then said, "We are speaking god and goddess to one another, and you ask me why I have come here, and I will tell you truly, as you would have me do. Zeus sent me. It was no doing of mine. Who could possibly want to come all this way over the sea, where there are no cities full of people to offer me sacrifice or choice hecatombs? Nevertheless, I have come, for none of us gods can cross Zeus or transgress his orders." Wow, that's hospitality. "He says that you have here the most ill-starred of all those," ill-starred like the fortunes in your stars kind of thing, "of all those who fought 9 years before the city of Priam and sailed home in the 10th year, having sacked it. On their way home, they sinned against Athena, who raised both wind and waves against him, so that all his brave companions perished, and he alone was carried hither by wind and tide. Zeus says that you are to let this man go at once, for it is decreed that he shall not perish here, far from his own people, but shall return to his home and country and see his friends again." Calypso trembled with rage when she heard this. "You gods," she exclaimed, "ought to be ashamed of yourselves. You are always jealous and hate seeing a goddess take a fancy to a mortal man and live with him in open matrimony." It's interesting, she calls herself a goddess, and they also refer to her as a nymph. This kind of agrees with my theory that they're basically the same. In open matrimony. So when Rosy Finger, open matrimony, I don't think they were married. "So when Rosy Finger Dawn made love to Orion, you precious gods were all of you furious till Artemis went and killed him in Ortega. So, again, when Demeter fell in love with Iason and yielded to him a thrice-plowed fallow field, Zeus came to hear of it before very long and killed Iason with his thunderbolts. Now you are angry with me too, because I have a man here. I have found the poor creature sitting all alone astride of a keel, for Zeus had struck his ship with lightning and sunk it in mid-ocean, so that all his crew were drowned, and he himself was driven by wind and waves on to my island. I got so fond of him and cherished him, and had my heart set on making him immortal, so that he should never grow old all his days. Still, I cannot cross Zeus or bring his counsels to nothing. Therefore, if he insists upon it, let this man go beyond the seas again. But I cannot send him anywhere myself, for I have neither ships nor men who can take him. Nevertheless, I will readily give him such advice in all good faith as will be likely to bring him safely to his own country." "Then send him away," said Hermes, "or Zeus will be angry with you and punish you." Dang. On this he took leave, and Calypso went out to look for Odysseus, for she had heard Zeus's message. She found him sitting upon the beach, with his eyes ever filled with tears, dying of sheer homesickness, for he had got tired of Calypso, though he was forced to sleep with her in the cave by night, if it was she, not he, that would have it so. So, as for the daytime, he spent it on the rocks and on the seashore, weeping and crying aloud for his despair, and always looking out upon the sea. I think if Odysseus had actually, put his penis in Calypso, I don't think the gods would ever let him leave. Calypso went close up to him and said, "My poor fellow, you shall not stay here grieving and fretting your life out any longer. I'm going to send you away of my own free will." Wow. "Go out, cut some beams of wood, and make yourself a large raft with an upper deck." So she's trying to mess with him, I think. She wants him to think he's going to die. She's like, "It's of my own free will. Ha, 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 ha. I'm bored with you too." I don't know. "They may carry you safely over the sea. I will put bread, wine, and water on board to save you from starving. I will also give you clothes, and I will send you fair wind to take you home." Bread, wine, and water. That's interesting. "If the gods in heaven so will it, for they know more about these things and can settle them better than I." Odysseus shuddered as he heard her. "Now, goddess," he answered, "there is something behind all of this. You cannot be really meaning to help me home when you bid me do such a dreadful thing as put to sea on a raft." Yeah, exactly. Not even a well-found ship with a fair wind could venture such a distant voyage. Nothing that you can say or do shall make me go on board a raft unless you first solemnly swear that you mean me no mischief. Calypso smiled at this, caressed him with her hand. You know a great deal, she said, but you are quite wrong here. May heaven above and the earth below be my witness with the waters of the river Styx, and this is the most solemn oath which a blessed God can take, that I mean you no sort of harm, and I am only advising you to do exactly what I should do myself in your place. I am dealing with you quite straightforwardly, for my heart is not made of iron, and I am very sorry for you. When she had spoken, she led the way rapidly before him, and Odysseus followed in her steps. So the pair, goddess and man, went on till they came to Calypso's cave, where Odysseus took the seat that Hermes had just left. Calypso sent meat and drink before him, of the food that mortals eat, but her maids brought ambrosia and nectar for herself, and they laid their hands on the good things that were before them. When they had satisfied themselves with meat and drink, Calypso spoke. Odysseus, noble son of Laertes, so you would start home on your own land at once. So you would start home to your own land at once. Good luck go with you, but if you could only know how much suffering is in store for you before you get back to your own country, you would stay where you are, keep house along with me, and let me make you immortal, no matter how anxious you may be to see this wife of yours, of whom you are thinking all the time, day after day. Yet I flatter myself that I am not a whit less tall, nor well-looking than she, for it is not expected that a mortal woman should compare in beauty with an immortal. So that kind of means that Penelope probably does, because otherwise, why would Calypso even be mentioning it? Goddess, replied Odysseus, do not be angry with me about this. I am quite aware that my wife Penelope is nothing like so tall or so beautiful as yourself. She is only a woman, whereas you are an immortal. Nevertheless, I want to get home and can think of nothing else. If some god wrecks me when I am on the sea, I will bear it and make the best of it. I have had infinite trouble both by land and sea already, so let this go with the rest. Presently the sun set and it became dark, whereupon the pair retired into the innermost cave and went to bed. When the child of morning, rosy-fingered Dawn, appeared, Odysseus put on his shirt and cloak, while the goddess wore a light gossamer fabric, very fine and graceful, with a beautiful golden girdle about her waist and a veil to cover her head. So she's dressed for a funeral. That's so funny. She at once set herself to think how she could speed Odysseus on his way. She gave him a great bronze axe that suited his hands. It was sharpened at both sides and had a beautiful olive wood handle fitted firmly to it. She also gave him a sharp adze, which I imagine some tool used to make boats, and then led him the way to the far end of the island where grew the largest trees, alder, poplar, and pine, that reached the sky, very dry and well seasoned, so as to sail light for him in the water. Then, when she had shown him where the best trees grew, Calypso went home, leaving him to cut them, which he soon finished doing. He cut down 20 trees in all, and adds them smooth, squaring them by rule in a good workman-like fashion. Meanwhile, Calypso came back with some augers, so he bored holes with them and fitted the timbers together with bolts and rivets. He made the raft as broad and he made the raft as broad as a skilled shipwright makes the beam of a large vessel. And he fixed the deck upon top the ribs and ran a gunwale all around it. He also made a mast with a yard arm and a rudder to steer with. So he's like, this is a badass raft. It's not just some like rinky-dink raft. This is a serious man who's making a serious raft with some serious skills. He fenced the raft all around with wicker hurdles as protection against the waves. Smart. Then he threw on a quantity of wood. By and by, Calypso brought him some linen to make the sails, and he made these too, excellently making them fast with braces and sheets. Last of all, with the help of levers, he drew the raft down to the water. In 4 days he had completed the whole work, and on the 5th Calypso sent him from island after washing him and giving him some clean clothes. She also gave him a goat skin full of black wine, another large one of water, and she gave him a wallet full of provisions and supplied him with much good meat. Moreover, she made the wind fair and warm for him, and gladly did Odysseus spread his sails before it, while he sat and guided the raft skillfully by means of the rudder. He never closed his eyes, but kept them fixed on the Pleiades, on the late-setting boots and on the bear, which men also called the wain. So that's like Ursa Major. He's using the stars for navigation, which turns round and around where it is facing Orion and alone never dipping into the stream of Oceanus. For Calypso had told him to keep this to his left. Days 7 and 10 did he sail over the sea, and on the 18th the dim outlines of the mountains on the nearest part of the Phaeacian coast appeared, rising like a shield on the horizon. But King Poseidon, who was returning from the Ethiopians, caught sight of Odysseus a long way off from the mountains of Somali. Solimi? He could see him sailing upon the sea, and made him very angry, so he wagged his head and muttered to himself, saying, "Good heavens, so the gods have been changing their mind about Odysseus while I was away in Ethiopia. And now he is close to the land of the Phaeacians, where it is decreed that he shall escape from calamities that have befallen him. Still, he shall have plenty of hardships yet before he has done with this." Thereon he gathered the clouds together and grasped his trident and stirred round the sea and roused the rage of every wind that blows, till earth, sea, and sky were hidden in a cloud, and night sprang forth out of the heavens. Winds from the east, south, north, and west fell upon him all at the same time, and tremendous sea got up. So Odysseus' heart began to fail him. "Alas," he said to himself in dismay, "whatever will become of me? I am afraid Calypso was right when she said I should have trouble by sea before I got back home. It is all coming true. How black is Zeus making heaven with his clouds, and what a sea the winds are raising from every quarter at once. I am now safe to perish. Blessed and thrice blessed were those Danaans who fell before Troy in the cause of the sons of Atreus." I think Atreus is the dude they're all descended from. "Would that I had been killed on the same day when the Trojans were pressing me so sorely about the dead body of Achilles, for then I should have had due burial and the Achaeans would have honored my name, but now it seems I shall come to a most pitiable end." As he spoke, a sea broke over him with such terrific fury that the raft reeled again. He was carried overboard a long way. He let go the helm, and the force of the hurricane was so great it broke the mast halfway up, and both sail and yard went over into the sea. For a long time Odysseus was under water, and it was all he could do to rise to the surface again, for the clothes Calypso had given him weighed him down. But at last he got his head above water and spat out the bitter brine that was running down his face in streams. In spite of this, however, he did not lose sight of his raft, but swam as fast as he could towards it. It's characteristic of Odysseus. He's a very quick thinker who's just very, it's like a dog on a bone. Like, you're not going to get that dude off of a plan. A sea took the raft and tossed it about as autumn winds whirl thistledown round and round upon a road. It was as though the south, north, east, and west winds were all playing battledore and shuttlecock with it at once. When it was in this plight, Ino, the daughter of Commodus, also called Leucothea, saw him. She had formerly been a mere mortal, but had since raised to the rank of a marine goddess. Nice, that's my goal too. Seeing in what great distress Odysseus now was, she had compassion upon him, and rising like a seagull from the waves, took her seat upon the raft. "My poor good man," she said, "why is Poseidon so furiously angry with you? He is giving you a great deal of trouble, but for all his bluster he will not kill you. You seem to be a sensible person. Do then as I bid you. Strip and leave your raft to dry before the wind, and swim to the Phaeacian coast, where better luck awaits you. And here, take my veil and put it around your chest. It is enchanted, and you can come to no harm as long as you wear it. As soon as you touch land, take it and throw it back as far as you can to the sea, and then go away again." With these words, she took off her veil and gave it to him, then dived down again like a seagull and vanished beneath the dark blue waters. But Odysseus did not know what to think. "Alas," he said to himself in this dismay, "this is only some one or other of the gods who is luring me to my ruin by advising me to quit my raft. At any rate, I will not do so at the present, for the land where she said I should quit all my troubles seems to be a good way off. I do not know what I will do. I am sure it will be best, no matter what happens. I will stick to the raft as long as her timbers hold together, but when the sea breaks her up, I will swim for it. I do not see how I can do any better than this." Yeah, I think the gods will only, like, bless you if you're trying really hard. Like, he had to make it back to his raft in a storm, and then a goddess is like, "Oh, by the way, here's something that'll help you." It's like, what do I need this for? I still have a raft. When he was thus in two minds, Poseidon sent a great, terrible wave that seemed to rear itself above his head till it broke right over the raft, which went to pieces as though it were a heap of dry chaff tossed about by a whirlwind. Odysseus got astride one of the planks and rode upon it as though he were on horseback. He then took off the clothes Calypso had given him and bound Isso's veil under his arms and plunged into the sea, meaning to swim on shore. King Poseidon watched him as he did so and wagged his head, muttering to himself, saying, "There now, swim up and down as best you can till you fall in with well-to-do people. I do not think you will be able to say that I have let you off too lightly." On this he lashed his horse and drove off to the Aegae, where his palace is. But Athena resolved to help Odysseus, so she bound the ways of all the winds except one, and made them lie quite still, but roused a good stiff breeze from the north that should lay the waters till Odysseus reached the land of the Phaeacians, where he would be safe. Thereon he floated for about 2 nights and 2 days in the water, with a heavy swell on the sea, and death staring him in the face. When the 3rd day broke, the wind fell, and there was a dead calm, without so much as a breath of air stirring. As he rose on the swell, he looked eagerly ahead and could see land quite near. Then, as children rejoice when their dear father begins to get better, after having for a long time borne sore afflictions sent him by some angry spirit, but the gods deliver him from evil, so was Odysseus thankful when he saw again land and trees, and swam on with all his strength, that he might once more set foot upon dry land. I like that sentiment, as children rejoice when their dear father begins to get better. I like that. When, however, he got within earshot, he began to hear the surf thundering up against the rocks, for the swell still broke against them with a terrific roar. Everything was enveloped in spray. There were no harbors where a ship might ride, or shelter of any kind, but only headlands and low-lying rocks and mountaintops. Odysseus' heart now began to fail him, and he said despairingly to himself, "Alas, Zeus has let me see land after swimming so far, that I had given up all hope, but I can find no landing place, for the coast is rocky and surf-beaten. The rocks are smooth and rise sheer from the sea, with deep waters close under them that I cannot climb out for want of a foothold. I am afraid some great wave will lift me off my legs and dash me against the rocks as I leave the water, which would give me a sorry landing. If, on the other hand, I swim further in shorts of some sort of shelving beach or harbor, a hurricane may carry me out to sea again sorely against my will, or heaven may send some great monster of the deep to attack me, for Amphitrite breeds many such, and I know that Poseidon is very angry with me." While he was thus in 2 minds, a wave caught him and took him with such force against the rocks that he would have been smashed and torn to pieces if Athena had not shown him what to do. Caught hold of the rock with both hands and clung to it, groaning with pain, till the wave retired. So he was saved that time. But presently the wave came on again and carried him back with it far into the sea, tearing his hands as suckers of a polypus are torn, probably octopus, when someone plucks it from its bed and stones come up along with it. Even so did the rocks tear the skin from his strong hands, and then the wave drew him deeply down to the water. Ow. Here poor Odysseus certainly would have perished, even in spite of his own destiny, if Athena had not helped him to keep his wits about him. Always keep your wits about you. He swam seaward again, beyond reach of the surf that was beating against the land. This is what I mean when my wife's like, "What if you died?" I'm like, "I'm just not gonna die." Like, you just don't die. Like, what do you mean? You just don't die. Just don't do it. Same time, he kept looking towards the shore to see if he could find some haven or spit that should take the waves aslant. By and by he swam on, and he came to the mouth of a river. Here he thought would be the best place, for there were no rocks, and it afforded shelter from the winds. He felt there was a current, so he prayed inwardly and said, "Hear me, O king, whoever you are, save me from the anger of the sea god Poseidon, for I approach you prayerfully. Anyone who has lost his way has at all times a claim, even upon the gods. Wherefore, in my distress, I draw near to your stream, cling to the knees of your riverhood. Have mercy upon me, O king, for I declare myself your suppliant." Then the gods stayed his stream and stilled the waves, making all calm before him, bringing him safely to the mouth of the river. Here at last Odysseus' knees and strong hands failed him, for the sea had completely broken him. His body was all swollen, and his mouth and nostrils ran down like a river with seawater, so that he could neither breathe nor speak, and lay swooning from sheer exhaustion. Presently, when he got his breath and come to himself again, he took off the scarf that Ino had given him and threw it back into the salt stream of the river, where Ino received it into her hands from a wave that bore it towards her. Then he left the river, laid himself down among the rushes, and kissed the bounteous earth. The reader will note that the river was flowing with salt water. That is, that it was tidal. Alas, I guess that means it has some loyalty to Poseidon, which is interesting. Alas, he cried to himself in dismay, whatever will become of me, and how is it all to end? If I stay here upon the riverbed through long watches of night, I am so exhausted that the bitter cold and damp may make an end of me. For towards sunrise there will be a keen wind blowing from off the river. If I, on the other hand, climb this hillside and find no shelter in the woods, and sleep in some thicket, I may escape the cold and have a good night's rest, but some savage beast may take advantage of me and devour me. In the end he deemed it was best to take to the wood, and he found one upon high ground not far. So he's just really intelligent. He's just always thinking, even completely exhausted and basically dead. Yeah, so the cold, making enemy, sunrise, for towards sunrise there'll be keen wind blowing from off the river. On the other hand, to climb the hillside and find shelter in the woods, sleep in some thicket, may escape the cold, and have a good night's rest from savage beasts may take advantage of me and devour me. In the end, it seemed best to take the woods, I guess, because like the cold will definitely kill you, but the beast might not kill you. And he found one upon some high ground not far from the water. There he crept beneath 2 shoots of olive that grew from a single rock, the one an ungrafted sucker, while the other had been grafted. So this is a cultivated land. No one, however, squally could break through the cover they afforded. That also means Odysseus noticed that, which is really impressive. Nor could the sun's rays pierce them, nor the rain get through them. So closely did they grow into one another. Odysseus crept under these and began to make himself a bed to lie on, for there was a great litter of dead leaves lying about, enough to make a covering for 2 or 3 men, even in hard winter weather. He was glad enough to see this, that he laid himself down and heaped all the leaves round him. Then, as one who lives alone in the country, far from any neighbor, hides a brand new fire seed in the ashes to save himself from having to get a light elsewhere, even so did Odysseus cover himself up with leaves, and Athena shed sweet sleep upon his eyes, closed his eyelids, and made him lose all memory of his sorrows. What a resourceful man. Always plotting, always planning, always analyzing, always making the best decision.